Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? Stormybman, and I am back. That's right, I'm back. Welcome to the Friday night chop session with Stormybman for this Friday, September 11th, 2020. And we are here for episode number 77 of the chop session. We're calling this one Rattling Boxing's Cages. That's right. The cages of boxing have been rattling all over the place, and we've seen and heard a number of things going down, man. And it's just something to be seen and said about everything that's going on in the sport right now. Huh? Something to be said. It's like, wow, you know. So we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. There's a lot of news on the horizon. There's a lot of going back and forth. There's a lot of conversation, you know. And we're going to talk about a few things. Get the chat involved a little bit tonight and see what people think and feel about what's happening in their beloved sport of boxing. We got some fights on the horizon that we can talk about. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot going on. And at this particular time and juncture, to be able to have a discussion about things is appropriate, but also we need to get to the root of what's happening in the sport. And with that being said, you know, that's where we kick it off here on the chop session. Talking about it, chopping it up. Smash the like button as you come in and listen to what we got going on. I want to say thank you for my new supporters. Over the past few days, we've had some new subs come in and start supporting the channel. I appreciate that. And it's always great to acknowledge people who give you a reason to do what you do, and that's never lost on Stormybman. And the faster we get to a point where I can consistently acknowledge you over the airwaves and everything, the better it'll be, because I believe in being generous. And one of the things or ways that you can display that is by giving back. So I try to give forth and put forth my greatest efforts in sincerity and hope that you can receive that in the good graces as well. So, you know, I just wanted to say that, let you all know what's happening with me, man. And I really appreciate those who are supporting the channel. So, yes, we are here for another chop session, and we're going to see what's happening. Waiting on my brother Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens. I see him out there doing double duty in the chat. And we'll see as soon as he's able to get on here with me. But one of the other things that I wanted to acknowledge is, you know, the entire community that is the LDBC, you know. The LDBC has done wonders for me, allowing me to be under its umbrella as another content creator and channel operator. And hey, man, it's been great to see the support and the various leaders from the community, including 78 Sports. Shout out to 78, who have assisted me with being able to be in a position that I am right now to present this content to you that I do. So I want to say that. And as we go forward, lately the LDBC has come under acknowledgement for seeing a new wave or a new perspective, I should say, of seeing what can happen with fighters trying to make fights. And we saw that recently with what's going on with Gary Russell Jr., who had already been calling out Terrence Bud Crawford for a possible, what do they call it, a grudge match. And though it seems like Bud Crawford doesn't seem interested in this, Gary has let the world know that he's been very serious about this. And along the ways have we seen this play out through social media and even YouTube with video links being dropped and recorded comments and statements. The LDBC has had an opportunity to get Gary on the platform and have his say so, like on the airwaves or what have you, and his brother, his older brother, has been able to be out there and speak on his behalf. And a great deal of that discussion has happened over the airwaves of the LDBC senior channels. And that's something new for what's happening in the sport right now. And it may be a new means of people getting the real ear to the ground by utilizing social media out here on the YouTube airwaves to be able to see these fighters in real time, and to be able to project to their audience the fights that the audience want to see, what they feel that is hot, how do they feel about the selection process of an opponent, and being able to take that all into consideration and sort of take control of the self-promoting type situation where a fighter can work to his own best interest by using the modern means about going about these things. I think that is wonderful. I think it's wonderful because at the end of the day, we could see that promoters are pretty much self-serving, and they don't always act in the best interest of the fighter when they consider their promotional group, when they consider their own means and quality of business standing. So if it doesn't make sense for them, they are not necessarily going to curtail to the fighter 100%. There will always be something in reserve percentage-wise for themselves. And fighters who are exercising their independence is a wonderful thing. A wonderful thing. And if this be the new means about putting that into effect, I'm glad to see it happen. Because just as you go to a buffet and you can have all you want to eat, right? But you usually go to what your likings are. Rarely do you try something that you just don't feel, or you're not into it or whatever. So you'll pile your plate high with that pleases you. And see, in boxing, this can actually work in that same respect, as long as fighters interact and engage with their fans with that same respect. It has to be a reciprocity. The fans have to respect what the fighters are, what their ideals and goals are and things like that. And the fighters have to respect the fans' dollar, because if it's not something that they want to be a part of, they're not going to support it economically. So there is a sense of reciprocity in that, and there is also a sense of gaining a mutual advantage in that. So I like what I've seen. I don't like a lot of what I've heard, and it's simply because when you're talking business, you should definitely speak business from you should have a line of discipline and maintain that, so you can maintain respect, dignity, and integrity. I don't like certain things from the streets coming into that, because I'm sorry, it's just like people who dine, when I use that metaphor for the buffet, and an analogy of you put your food on your plate, you don't want all your food mixing together. At least most people don't. You know what I mean? You don't want gravy running all over into something else when gravy can be put in a side dish with potatoes or whatever. You don't want it running all off into your other food. Just as you may not want certain other aspects of what you're dining and mixing. So in this sense, we're talking about dining, the dining experience being our partake in the sport and conducting business in the sport. So certain elements need to be left at the door. Okay? Because when you conducting business, you want to be able to pop your collar, let your shoes look nice and shiny and look presentable and ready to uphold some type of integrity when you do this. So I do believe that with this situation that we've seen take place over this past week, a lot of that will be par for the course too as we go forward. Maybe brothers can clean some things up and make the presentation even better, and also represent in a sense of which the fans can't just think with a too broad of an open mind and just think whatever they say goes or whatever. You have to have a certain amount of decorum, okay? And that's important in life. Where you don't have discipline in life, then that allows the elements of unwanted fair to interfere, and then you have problems, and you cannot always get to the task at hand or what your objective is when you're dealing with all these sidetracking distractions. So hopefully, if this is going to be a process that can be used going forward in the future and can be conducted in a more stringent way, we can get to that place where we can actually get what we want out of the sport that we say that we love. And I do believe that the LDBC can be ahead of the game with this, because they have direct contact with a number of the fighters and their people, whether it be who's kind of overseeing, like in this sense, when we talked about Devin Haney and the talks that are going on with Gary Russell Jr. with his dad, Bill Haney, being ahead of looking at that. And then, you know, Al Heyman's name has been mentioned and things like that. So that's pretty positive, you know. And like I said, going forward, we can always polish some things up, and it can be conducted in a much better and clearer way as we go forward, because you can learn. It's a learning curve. This being like the first time we've seen something like this. What a wonderful thing to consider, you know, as we go forward. It's great stuff. I'm excited. I've liked a lot of what I've seen, and I'm just hoping for a progression in all of this. And who knows, you know, it could kick off very well. But we have to see it through. We have to see that process through and, you know, see what happens, man. So, but yeah, I would like to pose a question. I see we got a few people out there watching in the chat. We got G5 Gabe is out there. He says, salute Stormybman in the chat. Again, I said Reggie Owens is out there serving double duty. He says, salute my peoples. Bruce Goals is out there. He says, salute Stormybman and family. Reggie says he's headed to the crib. Eric R is out there. He says, salute fellas. And everybody else is saluting everybody else. My man, Iceberg Nerd, is out there. Says, salutations. Salutations to you, Iceberg Nerd. I mean, you guys that are out there in the chat right now, I want to throw a question at you, and you could write your responses in and I'll read them out loud. How do you feel about what you've been able to witness this week with the LDBC being having a foothold in the arena of over the airwaves, YouTube airwaves, negotiations for a match that fans want to see? I felt that was kind of interesting. something we had not seen before. And it's been entertaining. It's been informative. And like I said earlier, it's been some teaching moments here. And if this be a new way, it doesn't have to be the only way, and nor am I implying that it's going to dominate and take over something, but to be another avenue to allow this process of negotiating or coming together to find out what the fans really want to see as fights. Hey, I think it's a great thing. And to see people, you know, I mean, I think I saw over a few channels. You saw anywhere from 1,000 to a couple of thousand people in the chats of those live streams, and not just in the chats, but in overall viewership. It's like people were tuned in to listen to these men speak about what they were going to do as far as trying to put a match together over the channels. It was great. And shout out to Fanon International Boxing Channel, where Fanon had on his channel the gentleman on there talking, and he stepped back and just let them talk and speak over the airwaves. And, you know, we had some, you know, questions in the chat and stuff that were kind of like, you know, acknowledged. And it seemed like a great thing to do with this means of technology that we have at our fingertips, at our disposal. You know, so that's kind of exciting. You know, it's almost like when you got the idea that you could have a cell phone, right? Or when you got the idea that a phone could work in your car, you know, or something like that, a car through your phone, a phone through your car as you drive, you know, those kind of things. And to be a part of that and be witness to it as it was happening for the first time, that was very exciting. I look forward to something like that, you know, like I said, continuing. And like I said, it doesn't have to be for every fight or anything, but it's nice to know that you have options. You know, it's like when you had cable service years ago, when there was more than one cable company, people were competing for your dollars or not for the cable. So you had, you know, different companies offering you different types of packages and deals. And you went with the one that suited you best because they had to cater to what your interests were, right? So here we have it where it's like here in boxing, you know, it could work that same way. There are certain fighters who are just interested in getting a payday or whatever. But then there are other fighters who want to know, hey, I want to know who my fans want to see me go out against. You know, this is important. I mean, especially if I've been successful thus far, and now I'm in a position to be more, exercise more discretion in what my choices may be. So I want to make sure that I don't freeze them out of that process because I want their support. You see? And here we have now, we got Zoom, we got YouTube, we got Hangouts. We got all these means of communicating and getting on the airwaves and getting multiple people involved at one time and having platforms. That's very exciting, and very exciting to know that you can use this to a great advantage. You know, you used to hear these promoters and managers say, oh, we got to have a meeting about this. And you never could have an ear to the ground of what's happening with the meetings and stuff. And they could come out and tell you anything. Oh, we couldn't come to an agreement. But why? It seems so simple. You guys could do this and you could say that. You could do X, Y, Z. Why is it so hard for you guys to come together? See, now with this, you can actually hear what's being said. And sometimes it's not nice. Sometimes it gets a little heated. But sometimes having that ear to the ground or that window peek into what's happening, it make you feel a certain kind of way. Because sometimes you can see when somebody just doesn't want to make a deal, right? Because they want to protect their own interests. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to protect your interests. But when you're conducting business with someone else, so there has to be a give and take. You know, you just hope that someone is not giving more and the other is not, you know, taking more. So it's like, hey, but it's great. Mike202 says, I love it, and the LDBC need to take it to the next level. LDBC strong. Yes, sir. Eric R. is saluting Bruce Goals, and he says, charging my AirPods. And Bruce Gold says at Mike202, salute family. Salute to you. Appreciate you guys hitting the thumbs up on me there. And again, I'm kind of waiting to hear someone out there write some more comments outside of Mike202 about how do you feel about what you've witnessed this week. Because if you ask me, I really feel like it's a historical thing that has taken place, and we shouldn't look at it too lightly. We should actually embrace it excitingly with aspirations or hopes for something better to come, you know, out of this. This is just a beginning, so to speak. But to imagine what the possibilities are, amazing, totally amazing. So, you know, anybody got something else to say about that? Anybody got any comment they want to leave on that? I really would like to know, because this is something to get a chance to speak on here. You know, Stormybman like to have that discussion. In the meantime, we're waiting for Reggie. You know, Reggie is coming on because we got plenty to talk about here on the show this evening. But this is kind of like a opening salvo of ideas to brainstorm here. And I just want to, you know, take that moment and be in there with you guys and see what your thoughts are about this. Because I'll tell you, the first day that I saw it taking place, I was like, what is this? And, you know, first out, you know, when it was presented to me, I'm like, are they arguing? What's happening here or whatever? Then I saw exactly what was happening, and I began to go, oh, you know how you scratch your chin and you look and you go, oh, I see what's happening here. And boy, then to see it go from one channel to the next channel to the next channel. And next thing you know, we had a full grown, it was like an open, what do they call it? Not negotiation, but it was like an open procession or something of meeting of the minds from two potential camps that may have something on the table, you know. It's great, you know. Like, so once I realized that and realized how long it had been going on, all day basically, and then you saw the numbers on the channel, it's like, man, it's a few thousand people out there watching this, bro. It's like, can you believe that? Exciting, man. Very exciting. And I tell you, if fighters don't want to look to doing this, you know, going forward, you know, they may be doing themselves a disservice. Bruce Gold says, it's history and happening now. Absolutely, Bruce Gold. We are living it, living history at the moment. And to see those things transpiring, you know, it's like, wow, you know, you'll be able to go back. Whether this event comes off or not, you'll be able to refer back to it as a turning point for things that have gotten going, you know, right away. And that's a great thing. Very much so. 704 Joe is in the house. He says, love the show last night with the gloves, 5 gloves up. Hey, man, thanks, 704 Joe. We really thought we wanted to do something with Floyd Mayweather. And it was an opportunity to take acknowledgement for a great fighter who maximized what was at his disposal during his career. And no one has done that like Floyd prior or since, or even during the time. And for he to have left that type of mark on the sport and impacting in such a manner, one is to be acknowledged, and two is to be respected, because for so many generations during this sport, fighters have been disrespected and thought of as pugs, you know, just a pug. He gets punched in the face for a living. Very disrespectful, that when it came down to being a man of thoughtfulness or cerebral strength, fighters weren't thought to be that. But Floyd turned that on its end with him being such an intelligent man in his ring efforts inside the ropes and in his business efforts toward how to manage himself economically outside the ropes. So a lot of kudos to him for that, and to have made it out of the sport with his faculties, you know, in order. And that's a great way to leave. It really is. It's an example that many should look at. Excuse me. Eric R. says, I love it. I think Al might wait till the zone folds and purchase the fight as Haney's debut to PBC. Well, you can't wait on someone else's failure when you have an advantage and an opportunity to seize momentum and advancement for yourself. That you don't wait for someone else's demise. You go ahead and do what you got to do. It's chess, it's not checkers. Okay? And a chess move is to go ahead and take that queen and take that king when it's available. You don't wait around. You don't bandy about. You know? So you have to go in there. You have to go for the jugular, so to speak. That's important. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. You have to go at it when the opportunity presents itself. There are so many opportunities that have presented in these past couple of years that fighters didn't take, only to lose out and maybe to never gain that type of opportunity for advancement again. You know, we've seen that happen. We could use the the potential fight between AJ and Wilder as an example of that. At no point in history was that fight any hotter than it was like in 2017. And those two men should have fought one another. You know, with a guaranteed offer of $50 million for AJ and for Wilder to have an opportunity to unify, to become undisputed, or AJ unify to become undisputed. When the chips were right there, these men were supposed to go ahead and take advantage of that process. But no, AJ allowed some people to interfere. I understand he has people that he's signed to and everything, but when he's thinking about a personal move for generational wealth and for his own well-being, he has to think in a selfish manner, and he didn't. He allowed people to, take that off the table for him. And let that be a lesson to all of us in life. You don't let someone who doesn't live under your roof conduct the business of how what's under your roof survives and maintains a quality of life, especially since they only want to have a hand in it to enhance their quality of life elsewhere. Really? That's not a kingship move right there. And look what happened. He ended up losing. Now, he did regain his title, but look what else also happened. Wilder ended up losing. So remember, you had an opportunity for two undefeated champions to go in and face one another in a situation which could have been a series of fights, especially since their styles are so different. You just don't know what would happen. I know some people have favorites and things like that, but until they get in the ring and mix it up, you just don't know what will happen. So if it had happened at that time, maybe by this time they would be working on their third fight or something, a trilogy. But again, that fight will never have the fire that it had under it several years ago. And whose fault is that? Salute to Curtis Anderson, my brother out there in the chat. He says, peace and blessings to the chat and myself. Peace and blessings to you too, Kurt. Good to see you, bro. Eric R. says, Bill needs to invest in a PR guy. He has a great presence and thinks quick, but the more he's on, the more the fans see through his position. Yeah, there is a certain amount of talking that you should do, and then you drop the mic and you leave it, and you come back at a later time sometime. You don't have to be on every single day. You don't have, I mean, that's, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Eric R. And he says, Stormybman, do you believe Devin is truly ready for Gary at 21? I know he has the length. Can he get the experience he needs to outbox a Gary Russell through sparring alone? You gain the experience by fighting. You can't gain the experience by sparring. Sparring is just that. Sparring is a means of participating in the physical activities of boxing, but it ain't for real. It ain't with the money on the table. It ain't with under the lights in front of the people with everything on the line. It's not that. So who knows how a guy will respond and act to that. You know, Gary Russell Jr. lost to Vasily Lomachenko, but what did he gain from that? Because we know that he hasn't actively pursued a rematch with Lomachenko as with such fervor as he has gone after, you know, these other fighters that we're talking about as of late. It's interesting because personally, he could be the person under the lights in there facing Devin Haney that he might not be up to the task or whatever. He is a fighter that is older, about a decade older than Haney. And we do know that, hey, how good was Floyd Mayweather when he was 21? I'm not saying that Devin Haney is Floyd Mayweather. But what I'm saying is you don't know how good guys are until you actually put them in the ring to have to serve, you know, and then we'll find certain things out. Me, I'm of the belief you put the fighters in circumstances where they learn things. And to me, all of the young prospects of this modern era, they seem to be doing all the same thing. They're put in with fighters that you know that they can beat pretty much going in, and that you don't question what they could learn coming out of that, you know. And when you don't have those questions, how can you have the answers? Because the answers don't exist, because they're in there with things that are a foregone conclusion. You see, you're in there under a situation where you already know the answers. So there's not anything to be questioned. When you put a guy in there like Teofimo Lopez, when he fought the Japanese opponent, who offered him some resistance, gave him some difficulty, put a certain pressure on him, and it was very close. Even after the fight, he said out of his own mouth, I don't want to fight no tall guys no more. Dude, there's tall guys in life. You're going to see them out there. So just because he had length and height on you, you don't want to fight anybody anymore that has that? You have to learn how to overcome that. That was what that fight was supposed to show you, how to overcome that. And then you look forward to facing that in your sparring and training. You bring tall guys in with those type of links and those type of pressure advantages that will teach you how to overcome and persevere. I thought that he lost that fight, but he got the victory. So you know what? You take that lemon and you make some lemonade. You learn what you've done and you come back stronger. You don't want to go back in there with a bunch of guys that you could just roll over. I remember a couple of fights before that, he was in there and he knocked the guy out like in 1 round or 2 rounds. It was a very short fight. But it was like soon as he hit the guy was gone. I was like, What the hell does he get to learn from a fight like that? We already know he can punch. We already know he has some hand speed. You know, he's strong. But we want to know, can he go the distance? We want to know if somebody fights back, can he deal with that and fight? You know, I've said it so many times. Excuse me. I've said it so many times. Stormy has said this many, many times. There are so many fighters out there who have won titles before they even learn how to fight, man. And that right there is true across the board in the sport of boxing today. You got a bunch of champions, but they don't even know how to fight. Now, mind you, when I say that, what does that mean? Knowing how to fight means being able to be aggressive and execute your offensive plan when somebody responds to that and offers up opposition to that, that you know how to handle that is coming back at you, okay? Make adjustments during the situation, especially when something is not going in your favor, and still be able to turn the corner and become victorious out of having some type of resistance or opposition to what you were doing when you went in. That's knowing how to fight, how to handle yourself. If you've got knocked down, can you get back up? Can you fight back? Huh? This is very important. These are the type of things that fighters need to know how to do. And if you happen to suffer a loss, you have to learn how to come back from that loss. When you come back from that loss, you know what it takes to hold fast to what you've dealt with as far as having some type of resistance, and then to be able to persevere. Okay? So when you do win a title and you have someone opposing you, you know how to make adjustments. You know how to get up if you get dropped. You know how to defend, how to secure what you have and hold fast to it so that when the final bell rings, that you get the decision. That's integral. Pull Counter Boxing says, I believe Loma has really studied Lopez. I think Loma will use his experience to make Lopez look like an amateur. It's quite possible, Pull Counter Boxing. Salute to you. Welcome to the Stormybman show, Friday night chop session. And D-Lo 404 Boxing is out there. He says salute. And Curtis is saluting Pull Counter Boxing. Yes, sir. So, yeah, man. I don't know where Reggie is. Reggie, where are you, bro? You usually here by now. I was trying to save some of this content so we could discuss. Let's see. Let's see. He's trying to hold on one moment, family. He's having some trouble there. 1 second. Yeah, Reggie, you may want to try signing out, signing back in. Yeah. Let me see if I can send Reggie a personal link. Let's see if I still remember how to do this. Let's see. Let's see. No, that's not what I want to do there. Big homie Coop, I see you there. What's good with you? Let's see. server link here. Let's see. Let's see here, Reggie. I'll try to send Reggie a link here. Bear with me, family, one moment while we try to get the brother back on. See, Stormy is always trying to deal with these things. Let's see, we got J. Let's see, is that a small J or large J? Let's see, J, small D, WG. Reggie, if you're out there and you can hear me, I just sent you a link for the server. See if you can log on to that. Just click on that link, Reggie. So, what else we got out here? We got Chi-Town's Finest is out there. He says, smash the like button. Yes, sir. Thank you, Chi-Town. Good to see you out there. And everybody else is still saluting everybody else. Yeah. Let's see if we could get Reggie on this way. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Still trying to get my partner on here, fam, so give me 1 minute there. Okay, Reggie, I just sent it. I don't know what's going on. I know that some people have been having some trouble over the airwaves lately with StreamYard and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on. Well, I think I do know what's going on, but I won't speak about it over the air. But, you know, those kind of glitches are not incidental. They're not incidental. So, let's see if the brother can get on now. Let's see if he gets it. Let's see where the brother's at. I'm still surprised that not many people left any comments about what their thoughts were about those platform negotiations this week. I thought I would get more comments on that, but people have been relatively silent. You know, Bruce Goes, I think, made a comment, and what was that? Mike 202. Yeah, but nobody else really said much about that. That's interesting. Very interesting. Let's see here. So, okay, Chi-Town's finest, write something in the chat there, bro, so we could talk about it. You know, he says, "Ooh, boy, Stormy, I have too much to say about it." Yeah, okay, let's hear it, man, so we can discuss. You know, this is the chop session. We gotta chop it up. Reggie's still having some trouble here. I don't know what's going on with that. It's not on my end. That's on his end. Chi-Town says, "I feel much of those negotiations were for publicity and hype. But I also feel like it was very good for the sport during this time." Well, that's, yeah, you know what? That's a way to look at it. But what we need to see is a finalization, something transpiring that leads to the event taking place. That's the thing. Personally, I think that it's going to be very much in Gary Russell Jr.'s lap if nothing transpires, because he's been so vociferous and he's been loud and he's been like out there in the public eye and face with the sound bites and everything. But it's like, dude, that's like a dog in a yard just yapping away. You know, it's like, and you come inside the gate and he take off and he run. You know, it's like we want to see the fights, man. We really do. And at the end of the day, that's the thing. Eric R. says, "I think the LDBC opened a lane that was there all along with the negotiations. Black fighters better follow suit." Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the black fighters using black platforms. What do you think other fighters do? Huh? It's like you have to be smart. Your people can support you better than anyone else. And it's like you have to engage with them. You know, Drew Titan is out there. He says, "Salute, family. Been talking to Batman behind the scenes. A lot is happening." Yeah, I bet it is. Chi-Town's finest says, "I feel that they were testing the waters. The more pub that's coming, the closer we will get to it being signed, because they are watching and seeing the fans want the fight." Yes, sir. 704 Joe says, "I'm happy that there are more platforms. We have options." Yes, we do. And that's what we've been saying all along. You know, it can definitely help the sport if it's used in a proper manner. That's where you have to go. You know, that's where you have to understand. You know, let's see. Reggie say he's still trying to get on. Let's see. So, yeah, 704 Joe says, "Peace, Chi-Town." Chi-Town says, "I agree, Stormy. Your people support you and you have to engage them." That's right. And you don't leave them behind either. You know, you always look towards where your strength is, and your strength lies within your village. Remember, the old adage has always been, it takes a village to raise a child. So these are our children, so to speak. These professional athletes that are participating in the sport, where we can give them support and everything, but they have to understand that our shoulders are what they stand on to be successful. And if they don't want to utilize that type of help, they're not going to have the opportunity to do it. You know, they're not to go forward. I mean, to be successful. Because in a sport of boxing, there are plenty of vultures who are looking to dine on your blood every outing. So you have to be protected. Have to be protected. It is an integral aspect of your career is to remain ear to the ground with your people. There's not enough of that understanding out there. Not enough. So, you know, people have to do. Chi-Town says, agree, Stormy. It has to be used in a proper manner. He says, what type of deal should there be for a fighter who's champ and fights once a year versus young and up-and-coming champ? Well, that fighter that fights once a year, it has to be acknowledged that that's what he has done up to this degree. So in order for him to get what he wants, he has to give us what we want. We have seen him before now do nothing, as you said, but fight once a year. So now he has to show us that it's not. He has to show us that it's not for the once a year guy. It's a guy who wants to have a new ear to the ground. And in order to do that, you have to lay groundwork for that bridge to be built. That doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen because you want one fight. That's the thing. And you can't come out and just be talking like Billy Badass all the time. You have to talk with some type of integrity and everything and let people know, you know, you're already a professional fighter. So we know you're a tough guy. You fight for a living. But we want to see, like, why should we support you? You haven't shown us to be a guy who wants to get out there as many times as possible or to defend or to challenge or meet challenges. So it's like you're just another dude. Give us something. I'm responding to a text from Reggie, fellas. Yeah. So, Big Homie Coop says, I think the PBC will take the fight eventually. Pull Counter Boxing says, I feel the young ones do until they have something to lose. We see it time and time again, like with Keith Thurman and Manny and Crawford. We have to see Ennis and Ortiz. Chi-Town says, I'm starting to feel that way also, Big Homie. All right. And there he is, my man, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He finally broke in, fellas. They was keeping the doors locked, and he came in through that window that was unlocked on the side. What's good with you, Reggie? How you doing, bro?
Doing good, man. This thing, which calls give me all sorts of trouble. I don't know. It was saying like someone tried to hack in using whatever account I had, so I had to change the password over. So, man, finally got through that crap, man.
Okay, it's all good, man. It's just that, you know, I couldn't talk too much about it over the airwaves because I'm live, but I'm glad you were able to get in there. And if you want to hold on a couple minutes after we finish the show, I can tell you a couple things about that, how to avoid that. But yeah, man, this is, you know what, for this first hour, Reggie, I've been cooking pretty good. We're talking about the I don't know if you had a chance to listen to everything I was saying, but just talking about how the LDBC has used the platform in a positive way this go around for all of these conversations and talks about a potential matchup with Devin Haney and Gary Russell Jr. Even though there have been some, latest breaking news and things like that, what I started off the show speaking on was it is invigorating to see that using this platform is now a new means for fighters to come home to their fan base and use that to get an ear to the ground of what fans want and how they could influence what transpires by the support that they give. And for fighters to be open to that process by using what's available to them, even eliminating the promotional aspect of things to a great degree, especially when you're a champion, when you're a seasoned veteran, and you can have a means of having an alternative path. So, that's kind of what I opened the show talking about this evening. Were you able to hear some of that?
Yeah, I was listening to the whole thing while I was trying to get connected. But you're absolutely right, man.
So why don't you go ahead and offer up some thoughts that you have on it and everything, and we'll get a chance to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah, man, I think it was well overdue that this platform start being used to make fights, man. And salute to Devin Haney, to Gary Russell, to his brother. There's many other people. Fred from Barbershop, H Money. I think those are the four who kind of initially started off, and then seeing the bigger channels, Fanon, 78, seeing them going on Trill, and these guys really doing it. But really, Bill Haney and Gary Russell's brothers for really taking advantage of this sort of platform and linking it to get things done, because this is the new wave of getting, making stuff happen, especially as we go through this pandemic. Many things are shut down, so you have to come up with revolutionary ways of evolving within the sport and making things happen. So, man, major salute to them. But this is like some incredible stuff, and they may end up using this as a way to go about running the sport and creating fanfare behind it. Even these fighters, I used to always say this crap when I used to do the shows with Dante's Boxing Nation, is for fighters to start getting on these platforms. And now you're going to watch a whole flock of these fighters get on these platforms and start creating fights, creating, the stirrups to generating notoriety behind their names, and also for opponents they're looking to fight. This thing only makes sense. It makes sense. You have access to the goddamn world. And with this sport, it is beyond just going into this continent. You go outside the shores of this continent when you go about speaking about things. And that only helps your profile, your career. And if Floyd can do something, that money that Floyd and what Floyd has been able to do is just a benchmark that set a goal for people to move forward on. But that's all I got on that one.
Absolutely. Going back to the chat, we got Chi-Town Finest says, at Pull Counter Boxing, come on, bro. I'm just saying, elaborate on your point a little bit. Your points are good, but there's some generalization in there. And what Pull Counter Boxing said was, you have been watching boxing in the last 10 years, right? He says, I feel the young ones do until they have something to lose. We see it time and time again, like with Keith Thurman, Manny, and Crawford, which is this. I read this already. He said, we have to wait and see with Ennis and Ortiz. And he's talking about guys wanting to put it on the line or whatever until, like they becomes a certain amount of successful. Then they want to rest on their laurels and kind of wait things out and things like that without continuing to face challenges. Chi-Town's Finest says, I'm with you, Reggie. And he says, good points. Yeah, man, as we were talking about this, it's just great to see that what we've seen happen this week, that the platform was actually used in a most efficient and assertive manner. And as I spoke earlier in the show about it, it's like it's a great kicking point, kicking it off. We might see better situations handled going forward. There's a learning curve on this, but I do believe that this is now an option for the guys, and they should seek out the options. They should not just, rest on their laurels, so to speak, when it comes to an option like this, because you can put yourself in a great position going forward with the future and always maintain some type of level of decorum with your fan base. You got to. Those are the people who buy your fights, man. So, and we can move on from that one, Reggie. I was trying to save the next subject for when you did join. And the next subject I wanted to get into is this whole situation where we're hearing now that, Canelo Alvarez wants to sue DAZN. And it, of course, it's been, for those who have been sleeping under a rock, DAZN has turned down the opponents that Saul Alvarez has looked to choose to make his next fight on their app. And though that they are paying him a tremendous dollar per match, he's not seeking the more viable names that could draw great interest along with great revenue. So they've denied him these opponents that he has sought or decided to pick. And even Oscar De La Hoya at this late juncture has told him, hey, you really need to try to fight some of these guys that they want you to fight. And he was like, you go to hell too, Oscar. I'll sue you too. And it's like, it's become an ugly thing. But Oscar created this monster. So what are your thoughts on this, Reggie, as we see that the redhead cheetah, as Junior the Truth, shout out to Junior the Truth, he calls him the redhead cheetah. So what are your thoughts on this man trying to sue DAZN and Golden Boy?
I'm partially rocking with Canelo on this one, even though I don't like what he's doing. But this is the issue I have with the lack of control in the game. The game is screwed up, and to where who has control of what? For a sanctioned body to approve something, then a dang broadcast network to tell them, no, you're not fighting this person. Then you're in a contract with a promoter who don't represent you. I mean, it makes all the sense. He has the right to sue them, being what were the details of this contract? Did they specify who he can and cannot fight? It's not the job of a broadcaster to tell the fighter who he can't fight. If he's been approved of something, and this is about the sloppiness of this game, he's been approved by the WBC to fight a guy. Their job is to broadcast it. Now they're saying they're not going to broadcast it. And if he's signed exclusively, what does that do for him? Now they have him locked up and held up and to where he's unable to make any moves. And therefore, it's stopping him from getting paid. And that's where everything gets mixed up. And that's the whole problem with the sport of boxing, where there's no real regulation, no rhyme or reason as to how things get done. And they've all screwed up, and they overpaid this dude to begin with. Like, what was the purpose of paying this guy that much money? What sense did it make? Now you pull away to where other fighters, especially you got so much young talent out here where the money should have been held over, budget should have been done to them, and them being competitive and bidding for a lot of these other fights. The attraction to the sport ain't with these guys who are almost on their way out. It's with these younger guys, these younger talents. And with the Devin Haney, they're the stars of what DAZN could have been. The Ryan Garcias are the stars of it. The potential to get tanks over there, and other fighters that Canelo should have been fighting. They should have been running after to offer folks like Charlo money to get them up over there, not having to sign them exclusive. All this exclusivity bull crap is what affects the game. I hate long-term contracts. I think that F's off the game. And the control should be more with the fighters. And if the sanction bodies are to remain relevant, they need to be more strict about how they go about setting the rules. When fighters aren't fighting certain people, take them away from owning your belts until they get in there. But for the DAZN to be able to tell this dude who he's not going to fight, and by them saying that, it locks Canelo up, because if Canelo goes somewhere else to fight, now DAZN, now he opens himself to lawsuit. And that's where everything gets twisted. and they have really effed the whole game up. But yeah, that's all I got on that one.
You know, were they talking like that before they signed him to that contract? Because if they had told him up front when he was signing, you know you're signing to fight some good fighters on here, don't you? You ain't gonna just come on here and fight a whole bunch of Caleb's and Josh's. You know what I'm saying? So I imagine that they didn't, which is why they went over there anyway, and he signed that big money contract because he thought, you know, it's gonna be sweet over here. But I just like the fact that he's been put in a place of discomfort, okay? Because they've been kissing his behind and creating avenues for him for the past few years, man. And I don't feel sorry for rich people, man. I don't. Okay? They wouldn't pee on our guts if they were on fire, okay? So why should I feel anything about them? Now, it still has to come down to this. Once all of that gets settled, who you going to fight next, Bo? Huh? Who you going to fight next? I want to see him fight somebody. I don't want to see him continue to fight older, aging fighters or guys who can't get out of the way of him or guys who can't compete with him because they don't belong in the ring with him. There are plenty of other options out there, and he can get his butt in there and see what happens. Yes, he's a good fighter, but is he as good as people claim he is? I don't think so, because he hasn't been in there with anybody since Floyd Mayweather to show otherwise. And there are some young lions out there that are not that young, that are right around his peer group, that he could fight, and he should be fighting. But he's still trying to avoid. That guy, Yilgrim, or whatever his name was, I can't even pronounce. It's like, nobody wants to see you fight that dude. You got other fighters out there, man. And the thing about in boxing is this. You want to see in a race, you want to see the fastest against the fastest. What do you want to see the hare and the snail for? Huh? The hare and the turtle. You don't want to see that. You want to see, you know, a hare of this breed and stock against a hare of that breed and stock. Where when what they call it, the starting cap gun fires, they both shoot off down the lane and you want to see who's the best. That's the same it is in boxing. But this guy has been getting around everything because, as we spoke on the Three Wise Men of Boxing last night, Floyd Mayweather Jr. built him up on his undercards, made him into a formidable young prospect that people would want to see and possibly see him beat Floyd, when Floyd knew the entire time that he groomed that guy, built him up just so he can put him down on their Independence Day. You see? And they almost tried to rob Floyd, even though Floyd won that fight hands down. You know what I'm saying? But ever since then, they've made certain to not get in there with fighters that have the qualities that Floyd had: athleticism, good footwork, hand speed, and agility and things of that nature. He hasn't fought anybody with all of those in a long time. And there are guys out there who have it. But he's out there avoiding, and now he's sitting up there super filthy rich by others people's means. Okay? And then he wants to get like a diva when somebody say, "No, man, you cherry picking." He been cherry picking. But see, he's sitting on so many millions now, he don't even smell his ass no more because somebody's been wiping it for him the entire time. Mauricio Suleiman? Huh? So it's like, I don't feel bad for the guy. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a big fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men, including De La Hoya, couldn't put him back together again. That's it for his ass. I'm sorry. He ought to just retire with whatever the outcome is of his lawsuits and shit like that. Because he gets in the ring with anybody good, he's going to find out exactly what boxing is all about. It's a ton of hungry young fighters out there. They got something in the bag for him. Okay? This guy is one of the most protected. You know, he's been the guy that's been most projected and defended and everything else. But he ain't done it in the ring. He ain't. You know, and I'm almost to the point of thinking that he has had guys, if he hasn't had contractual restrictions and weight clauses and things like that, it's like, when are you going to fight somebody head up, bruh? Head up. As soon as Benavidez's belt was stripped, here he goes. He wanted to go after that belt. But what about when Benavidez was looking for an opponent? You wasn't calling him out then. And what's this thing about he won't fight another Mexican fighter? Why not? There are professional Mexican fighters out there that deserve a payday too. Huh? They deserve to eat too. Huh? They putting it on the line. They trying to fight for a living and take care of their families too. What, you want to be the only Mexican guy out there that makes the bank? Huh? You don't want to spread that love around? This guy's a farce. You can see why a number of the aging and retired Latin fighters don't care for this dude. You talking about men who have fought one another 2, 3, 4 times and had great careers. This guy don't even want to rematch anybody hardly, unless it's somebody that he didn't have difficulty with, like a Triple G. And Triple G is following him around because he wants one more chance at it. But Triple G will never beat Canelo. He'll never beat him. Because even if he physically didn't knock him out, the judges are going to make sure he don't get the decision. So Triple G is dumb. You spend all that time trying to avoid people who would have given you competition instead of getting in the ring with people who can compete with you whether you win, lose, or draw. That's where your respect comes, not from those paydays. It's respectful that you get a payday to take care of your family. But it's disgraceful for you to try to avoid the competition of people out there who may deserve to be champion. So I don't feel sorry for these guys. Sit your butts down somewhere, take your pots of gold, and get the hell out of the way. Because there are fighters out there that can replace you. Boxing is still going on. It will be going on after you're dead and gone, because that's how it is. But you need to understand that we don't have to consign to what you do. You came up under the improper influence of someone like Oscar De La Hoya, okay, who was wrong, okay, with his mental approach to the fight game. That's why he got knocked out like he did by Bernard Hopkins. Don't ever forget the racist stuff that he said, okay? Don't forget that. Huh? And then look what happened to him. Look at what happened, and all the information come out about him in his personal life and the drugs and everything that he still can't escape. There's a reason that those dark clouds hover over certain people, because they were dark to begin with on the inside. Huh? It's just that the public wasn't able to be exposed to that. But now we're living in times where everything get exposed, right? So this is what happens. I don't feel sorry for you rich guys. Crumble and fall. There'll always be somebody else who will rise to that level. And I don't care how mad you get, you won't make the money that Floyd Mayweather made. So put that in your little redhead cheetah pipe and smoke that. I'm done with it. Anyway, Reggie, we can go on to another subject. It's still having to do with DAZN. Now, DAZN is in a position now where things have been kind of like just put on hiatus. They don't have the fight dates scheduled, you know, things that were maybe on the horizon, people that were going to face one another and everything. There's like nothing on the slate right now. Do you think that this might be a time when they finally might be going under, or they just trying to ride out the Canelo situation and see what happens? Or do you think it's a combination of things and they just may very well be shrinking up and going into this late quarter of the year? They may not do nothing for the rest of the year.
I think they're still on the table because they got a few fights. I don't think Canelo sinks the ship yet. I think they may try to get what they can get and probably seeing what they can do or get out of the fighters they have. They should have bet on the future of these young fighters. That's the thing the Zone should have did. The Zone tried to rush out the gate. That's a damn problem. They should have took themselves stepping a little bit beneath the leaders of this game. Follow along the path, learn the system, learn the way to move, figure out how to become revolutionizing things. They revolutionized things with coming in with this app. That was a good thing, but to think you're gonna just run up and replace the ESPN is gonna replace the Showtimes at Fox, that was stupid. That's like a damn rabbit trying to jump into a lion's den and pick a fight, and that's exactly what they did. But they rushed out here with the wrong stars. I mean, I see Canelo and them were the supposed big names. I mean, they were bigger names than what we expect with these young fighters, the Anthony Joshuas and all that. But to bet that kind of money, bet the house on these dudes and think you're going to run with it, what they should have paid attention to is what was being stated about these fighters. And they should have known something. When it came to AJ, they wanted AJ to be the face. AJ kind of had this little red flag on him, and that was him starting to become labeled as being a coward with his avoidance of Deontay Wilder. So they should have what is thought about him, especially in America, where we're looking to come and take over. He's not viewed too well over here. Then we look at Canelo Alvarez. Him being viewed in a certain light as a cherry picker, a person that's avoiding the real tough competition, avoiding tough fighters. Same thing with Triple G, the same thing. It's only so much you can watch of these two just fighting each other. People want to see them fight the other guys that people feel that they're avoiding. Now, the Zone made a huge mistake by not listening. Now what the Zone is doing is coming into chats. They're starting to listen, which is real late as hell, but if you're still breathing, you still got life. So they're starting to learn just to pick off what listen to the people. Power to the people is what they're starting to figure out. So they may have a little bit of life. They may need to see where they can go with this Gary Russell thing. Look where they can go with the Ryan Garcia thing. And this is what the other thing with these fighters. These fighters need to start coming in representing their goddamn selves rather than over them, because there's so much potential for them to go about making their own moves in this game and having people to pitch in money and bet on them. And that, who's to say it's not too late for a guy like Ryan Garcia? There's other young, exciting fighters that are out there who can kind of carry the Zone maybe where it needs to go. And that's going with the younger fight bases, and also bridging the gap with them by coming through YouTube platforms as well. If they listen to the right people, they follow the right people and stop thinking they're the smartest people in the room, they can figure this thing out and they can find a way to win. But I won't say it's over yet. I don't like the app. I don't like it, but they present boxing. So it's another way for other fighters to get out here. I mean, people need dates to fight. So I ain't gonna knock it as much as in the beginning. I wanted to knock the Zone, wanted to see that shit going. But when looking at these fighters, I want to see these fighters win. I want to see these fighters earning their share of what they deserve in this game. So who knows? They may hold their life until we see what comes out of that court case. I don't think they should just fold just because Canelo presents a court case. A judge has to rule on that.
Yeah. They have really thrown a lot of money at people, and it hasn't been the people that should get money. It's like the way they have selected going about throwing around that money, I kind of like really question them. But if it folds up like a, card table, good for them, man. And for the guys who made that quick snatch and grab of cash, being under that umbrella of the zone, hey, good for you. But there are certain fighters that they have had come through there that they've thrown cash at that I just kind of like, I don't have respect for, man. One of those guys recently had something to say about Gary Russell Jr., and that's Mikey Garcia. Were you able to catch his comments about Gary Russell?
No. If you can update, I know I heard people saying he said he don't know who Gary Russell is. That was about the most I heard. He
was being interviewed by somebody. They driving in the car. It's up on Fight Hype, the interview. And the thing about it was, he was asked about the comments that Gary was making publicly about calling people out and this and that. And yeah, he tried to act like he didn't know who he was. And he was sunning Gary, like saying, like, for somebody that has no relevance to my career or whatever, why should I think about him, or why should I have anything to say about the guy or whatever? Who is he? Basically he's saying like that. Well, who the hell was Mikey, huh? Talking about, when he was trying to call out Earl Spence and everything. This is why I said, and it has come back momentous occasions over and over again since the fight transpired. This is why I said that Earl should have knocked him out. See, people like that, that's what you have to do to them. To send a message. The message is dual. Okay, dual. One, you don't belong. Two, I'm going to send you home. Okay? And when you say send him home, it's like send him back to where he come from, because he has no respect for you. Okay? Everything that he did and said leading up to that was despicable. And it was biased. Okay? But when he got humbled because he lost almost every round of that fight, that wasn't good enough for me. He was supposed to be knocked out. And when you knock people like that out, they go away. They don't come back. They go away. Here he is back again. He showed up on the zone. They paid him an exorbitant amount of money to do nothing. Okay. And he's still out there running his mouth. Okay. There was some guys around the division that he could have faced that he didn't want to face because he knew that he'd be in jeopardy. There are some people who go for the kill in there. You know what I'm saying? And when I say they go for the kill, okay, this guy right here is one of those guys. I'm telling you, his camp are very biased. Am I saying all people like that are biased? No, I am not. But he is. Okay? And when you have that type of attitude, where's the respect for other people in the sport? But you think people are supposed to respect you. You're not giving anybody anything to respect when it comes out of your mouth the way it does. And that's disrespectful. So every man that faces him going forward, and you know who he wants to face because he selects who he wants to face. You better make sure that you put your foot so far up his ass that his breath come out smelling like shoe polish. That's what you got to do for people like him. Okay? This guy right here, I am sick of him. Earl Spence did us a disservice by not knocking him the hell out. And Earl could have knocked him out. He could have. But this is something I'm telling you. Going forward in the sport, you need to see fighters take care of your business in that ring. Take care of that. Don't leave no stone unturned. Because I'll tell you, the disrespect comes just like this. Where's Earl multiple $1 million offer and everything coming out that fight? How does a guy who loses, gets his ass zipped, okay, and gets handsomely paid like that? They don't do that for only certain people. They don't do it for us. Okay? They don't. But I'm telling you, when you got a guy like that and he run his mouth like that, somebody need to show him what's on the other side. That's it. You got to show him. And for anybody out here that really understands what I'm talking about, it's disrespectful. Very disrespectful. What Mikey Garcia and his camp think about black people is very little. If he were to come out and tell you, you wouldn't believe the words that would come out of his mouth. Yes, I said it on this air. He has a prejudice, and people need to call him on that. And for fighters that get in the ring with him, they need to address it. He ain't retired yet, so you can get your opportunity. That's all I'm going to say about that, and I don't give a damn what he think about it. To hell with Mikey Garcia. You got something, Reggie?
No, I ain't got nothing on that.
Yeah, you need to go and see what he said for yourself. You could read straight up between the lines. You could read straight up between the lines what he was saying. And don't forget, you know, with certain fighters, where they talking about, oh, they call themselves tire beaters. Okay? You know what color a tire is, Reggie?
Yeah, absolutely. Now I know where they coming from.
Yeah.
I know exactly where they come from.
Yeah.
But see, the issue is his thing with Gary, that's more personal. I think it's more defensive. He know who Gary is, sarcasm.
Yeah, of course.
Them having disdain for what Gary did against Leo Santa Cruz, but that's on Leo Santa Cruz to have the heart to
well, why don't he get in the ring with him? Hey, it ain't nothing but a thing, right? Get in the ring with him.
Man, hey, to be honest, I think he'll whoop Gary Russell ass, to be honest. Like,
it'll be a thing to see. You know? But he got other choices. He done moved up to the 147 now. Hey, go on in there with Terrence Crawford. He don't know who he is either, do he? See, man, it's like, hey, I'm telling you, man.
Crawford is who we need to be fighting.
Exactly.
Crawford need to be more vocal. Crawford got to be more vocal.
And Crawford ain't going to take it easy on him either. Crawford ain't going to take it easy on him. Crawford give him just what he want. Give him just what he want. This guy talk like he Big King Dingaling or something, man. Forget that little runt, man. I was hot when I saw that interview, bro. And it's not even like, oh, in lieu of support of Gary Russell. It was lieu in support of the black man. Because that's what he was being disrespectful toward. It wasn't about Gary personally, but he used Gary to express his sentiments. And that's what it was. You have to see the subliminal. That's what that was. Period. That's why I keep coming back to Earl should have knocked him the hell out. Cold. Like Kurt said his dad used to say, cold as a milkshake. That's what he should have done to him. Yeah, get his ass in there with Sean Porter, like Dre Finer said. Let him see him fight Sean Porter and see what happened to him. To hell with that dude, man. Well, there was another article today I saw, Reggie. I saw something where AJ was talking about fighting again, and you know, this guy, man, he seems to only have something to say when people are like engaged in something else, that's his way, AJ, and he was talking about going out there against Tyson Fury, and putting it like he wants to, he feels like he should be the next in line, even though Fury may be facing Wilder for a third time or whatever. But AJ is just, he's one of those guys that he just got to have something to say, man. He just got to have something to say. I'm kind of sick of the dude myself. And he has those titles over there. And those titles, he's just holding on to them, basically. He ain't going to do nothing with them. What are your thoughts about this guy and where his career is? Do you think he's just holding titles, holding them in place for, for as long as he can? Because it don't look like he's trying to be too active.
That's exactly what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to map his way through the game. He don't want to take these hard fights. He don't want to deal with the embarrassment he faced versus Ruiz again. And being that Ruiz is probably on at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to punchers. Him having to deal with guys who can really get in there with the same height, same reach, can jab with him, and can hit him with the same. Not with the same, but with greater impact than what he got hit by Andy Ruiz with. So, I don't understand the dude. He's trying to. The reason why he's talking all this shit is to kind of break his way kind of against that stigma of being a coward, of being weak. The way people looked at it, a lot of people didn't like the way he performed in that rematch. They even labeled that as being a very cowardice look. So he has to kind of, talk that good-ish to try to sound a certain way. But he got to get in there and perform it. And now all of a sudden he has a heart to where he wants to speak about facing Tyson Fury. He's so quick to want to get in this Fury fight for unification, but you had a champion who done been in that division with the other piece that you've been missing. And you avoided that dude. And it looked real bad being this dude and put $50 million on the table, which is unheard of, and for this guy to walk away from it. So it's hard to shake that, but he thinks over time, as things move on and people forget things, that he can shake that stigma. And I think he's mistaken by thinking that kind of a thought. But if he's gonna talk that stuff, he gotta live up to it, because somebody gotta come out as the winner or loser in this trilogy versus Wilder and Fury. And he gonna have to step up and do something about it, because he's talking a lot of talk. People gonna have that memo. They're gonna have it written down. So we're gonna see what the cat is made of. But I don't know. If he talking this stuff, he gonna have to really display it. But he got a tough fight on his hands. And he may be screwing up by, he's looking at these other folks when he got a full plate that he haven't even ate yet. And Pulev ain't nobody that he's gonna walk through. Pulev poses the same danger that he does. So he better focus in on what he needs to focus in before those belts switch hands. And he ain't going to have nothing. Now everybody's going to freeze him out when it comes down to it. But I don't buy in nothing, man. After him falling off on that $50 million guarantee, plus the other money on top of it, screwing himself out of a possible $100 million fight for a heavyweight, he's a sucker. But to me, he can fight. I ain't going to never take that away from AJ. The dude can fight. I give him his credit on that. Amongst his clay, he can fight. But it's hard when it comes to Wilder. Wilder has the dude's soul snatched. But I don't buy into it. He got to show something, man. And hopefully the fans put pressure on him. But it's almost like people ain't paying attention to nothing he has to say. And that's the other crazy thing, to where star power, it can shine bright and that mug can gleam and start to dim to it just flames out. And that's starting to that's kind of what has happened to this dude. His star has really flamed out. And he's trying to talk this type of talk to bring notice back to him.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. If he gets in there with Tyson Fury gonna eat him alive, man. Tyson Fury has too much. Let's just say even we're not even going to talk about the boxing skills first here in the scenario with AJ. Tyson Fury can get to him mentally. I believe that AJ is not mentally strong enough to contend with a promotion with Tyson Fury. I think Tyson will have him throughout the promotion of the event. Now, when you talk about the advantages in the boxing ring, you know, Tyson Fury outboxed Vladimir Klitschko. His arm length was longer. He was taller. He had more range. He had more agility and everything. He has more agility than AJ has. He has the reach advantage. He has the height advantage. He'll probably have the weight advantage. There are so many advantages that Tyson Fury, I could see him eating AJ up, and he'll make him look really bad. That's my thought process on it. So I would like to see it happen because I enjoy AJ getting his ass whooped. He ain't never been a guy that I've been fond of as far as being a professional fighter. I don't know him personally, so I can't speak on him personally. But as a professional fighter, I don't care for AJ. He is not the goods as far as I'm concerned. He's been brought along good and protected, you know, but he doesn't have what I think it takes to remain on top. And the only reason he's been on top as long as he has been is because of how he's held on to the belts with such inactivity. He was far more active before he won the titles. Far more active. How many fights has he had in the past 3 years? 3? You know, think about it. The guy is like, you know, he's like what they want a heavyweight champion to look like. You know, he's a big guy, he's muscular and everything. It's like he's that, you know, they could put him on the cover of a magazine and that kind of stuff. But, dude, when he get in the ring, you open him up and you find out he's the Tin Man and he ain't got no heart on the inside and all of that stuff. It's like, come on, man. This is boxing. You understand? So it's like, while he ran away from a fearsome puncher, he going to be running right into the arms of a great boxer. So he's really up a creek. And I said this time and time again, he's lingering and meandering around so much that the young guys in the division have had a chance to catch up to him. And he has not improved since he won the titles. Now, people may say, well, he really boxed really good against Ruiz in the rematch. No, he didn't. He just played keep away. He stayed away from Ruiz, hit him at range, stayed away, and Ruiz was too fat and out of shape to catch up to him. Period. That was it. You put him in there with somebody who can fight back and give their pound of flesh or whatever, he going to be in trouble all over again. Will that be Pulev? I don't know. Pulev ducked the fight with him a few years ago, so I don't know if Pulev just want to get the payday or if he want the opportunity to do something special. But we found out in the meantime that when somebody goes upside his head, funny things happen. So Pulev has a shot. We know against Joseph Parker, the ref wouldn't let the guy fight on the inside. So when Parker got close, he couldn't do anything. He was fighting two people, the referee and AJ. You know? But this guy has such a mouth outside the ring, man. It's ridiculous to hear him say the things that he says. And then he has a tattoo of Africa, the continent, on his shoulder. And he runs around here, you know, supposedly having black pride and all of this and everything. But he's showing something else. His behind. I don't like that kind of foolishness, man. I'm not an advocate to support it. He could get the hell out of here. The sooner he loses those belts, the better we'll be off in the sport of boxing for the heavyweight division. Because remember, as so go the heavyweights, so the rest of the sport follows. So we need someone at the top of the division to handle that business so the sport can progress and move along. Because people don't want to be outshined by the heavyweights. They want to compete with the heavyweights. But right now, the heavyweights are lackluster. Don't nobody really give a damn about Tyson Fury. But if he whoops somebody, that's excitement for that moment. And then it goes back to being nothing much, right? So you need a mix-up. And we got a few guys coming along. And we'll see what happens. You got Joyce and you got Dubois and you got a couple other guys. You got that Ajabo, these guys. I'm not saying that they're the future. What I'm saying is they're catching up. because he's not getting better. You know, he's 30 years old now. He won the title at 24, 25. It's like, what has he done in the past 5 years besides get knocked the hell out? Think about it. So that's what I got to say about him. Not much, but I said my piece because I'm sick and tired of the dude. If he want to go somewhere and be an underwear model or whatever, get the hell out the sport of boxing and let somebody else fight, man. I don't want to hear all that other crap. Go sit the hell down somewhere. This is a macho sport, huh? This is not one of the, what they call it, what they call it, metrosexual sport. This ain't no metrosexual sport. This a man sport. It's so manly that testosterone-driven women want to compete in it. He can go sit the hell down. It's a fraidy cat. You know, shout out to Best Fight the Best. When he coined that nickname for him, calling them pup, you know, the little scary, shaky puppies they just shiver and shit and be looking around. That's what he called them. Pup. That's what he is. Huh? Heavyweight champion is a person that get behind and be like, yeah, champ, what's up? You know, not this dude. Yeah, damn metrosexual ass dude. Get the hell out of here, man. We need a real fighter out there. A real fighter. I ain't saying he got to be some guy that's about to go to prison. It ain't what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about a guy that's going to get in that damn ring and go upside people's head and show them why he the best in the world. And somebody who does it with confidence and aplomb. They go out there and that shit is to be respected right there. He left guys' bodies in the wake. Not this guy out here. He wondered, do you think I can win? Get the hell out of here, pup. Oh, shivering, shaky ass dude. That's all I got on him, man.
Yeah, that's all I got on that clown, too.
Anyway, so we got news that the fight between Teofimo and Vasily has been signed, and they're about ready to go at it, and was in November. What are your thoughts leading into this one, Reggie? They finally, I guess they on social media, they signed, on Instagram or something, they signed their contracts. What do you think about this fight coming up?
This is a win-win for Teofimo, and especially depending on how he comes out in this fight. Even if in a loss, if he stays competitive, it's still a win-win for the kid. For Loma, it's going to be a huge test for him because it's a dangerous kid for Lomachenko. He's fighting youth that has tremendous power going into this fight. And he has to be really sharp going in here with this kid. And we all know Loma has the tools. And I kind of think Loma may end up bringing it to Teofimo. But then again, I don't want to just view Timo as just being a person who looks to deliver power. I want to see if he can box. But he's been put in there against opposition to where we really haven't seen him have to go in the box. Matter of fact, the one time he did have to go in there and box, and that's when he faced that tall fighter. He got to complaining because he couldn't deliver these power shots that he tends to like to fight off of. Even in that fight against against Comey was finding good success boxing Teofimo. It wasn't until Comey tried to step on the inside and exchange. Teofimo's punch got there much sooner than Comey's. But in that first round, it was looking like Teofimo wasn't really looking to box. It was just looking to deliver that power. And he has a pretty good jab on him when he decides to do it, but he throws one jab at a time. And he's always looking to throw in these short left hooks to kind of deliver the power. And I think he's becoming too happy with the power. The power has been registering against people he's been in there with. Now, what does he do? He go in this fight against Lomachenko, and Lomachenko's finding every way of taking the power. Loma's taking a lot up off his punches. He doesn't land a clean punch that hurts Loma. Now, what bag of tricks does Teofimo decide to go dig into and pull out? Can he step in here and box with Lomachenko? Could he make the angles? Could he make the movements? Can he turn? Is he going to be setting up traps on Vasily? Because his mind's going to have to be really working in there. He can't go in there being a brute. Because he goes in there for that moment, think he's going to be a brute, underestimating this guy because he's older than him. He going to get his ass whooped. Lomachenko going to spank him. I know people don't like Lomachenko. I'm not the biggest fan of Loma because what the media does, but when I step back and sit that crap aside, this European kid can effing fight. And he can punch. He delivers his punches in the right place. He's perfect with the placement of body punches. And that'll trim a lot of that power up off of Teofimo. So Teofimo's gonna have to be an intelligent guy inside this ring, along with fighting his fight. But his fight is gonna have to consist of a little bit of more boxing as well. But I want to see what he's able to deliver, and I want to see how well Lomachenko takes the power of Teofimo, because the power is what people say it is. But I've seen that throughout boxing where someone is known as a power puncher until they step up in levels, and that power becomes trimmed a little bit because these guys are better suited for absorbing punches. They roll well with punches. They see punches better. And they also do things to counter your punches to where you may become hesitant. You may be shy to throw something because you didn't got hit by something from this guy. And man, it's going to be a tremendous fight, but it's a positive for Teofimo, and especially at this age to take this kind of step up. You can't knock it. Win, lose, or draw. I mean, this is what these young fighters are supposed to be doing, getting up there fighting. That's what some of the greats did, like reviewing the lot of the greats, is they got in there in their early 20s, and they face top-level opposition. So I can't knock Teofimo at all. Not the biggest fan of Teofimo, but I'm not going to knock him just because I'm not a fan of his, but he's doing, this is a major step up. It's going to be a battle of the minds, I think, in this one. And Teofimo's going to have to see, can he get in here and outsmart this damn veteran? Can he see what's happening and how well he thinks? And along with utilizing his power, and also he's going to have to use some boxing. I just see it that way. But in this one, if Loma's able to take that power, Loma's going to school Teofimo in this fight. Because I don't think I'm going to see any boxing being displayed by Teofimo in this fight. I think he's too trigger happy with them hooks. So we're going to see. But I think I got Loma by decision.
Good stuff, Reggie. Good stuff. Now, if you ask me, which you didn't, but it's the chop session with Stormy B, man. So I'm going to give my take. Listen, I'm going to tell you a secret. Lomo gonna whoop his ass. Did you hear that?
Break it down.
Lomo's gonna whoop his ass. Let me tell you something. Lomo has seen in his amateur career everything, including whatever Tio can do. Tio has not seen, either in the amateurs or in his professional career, what Loma can do. If his age is not a factor here, if his age is not a factor, because that is important here, because just like in Cuban fighters' careers, a lot of times when they get to the pros, they may be a little bit older than they list them as. If Lomo is not as old as I think he is, he's going to win this fight. He's going to win this fight. And Tio has already shown us he's not mentally strong. He's not. And anytime you have someone that is a brooding physical presence, a la Mike Tyson, but not very much on the cerebral side, a la Mike Tyson and many others, and they're faced with the challenges of a puzzle of which they have to figure it out. Okay? They may have to make adjustments on the fly. They may have to find a way to do something as it puts them in a position to have a breakthrough. They fall short. Lomachenko has faced a lot of adversity. He's faced a lot of opposition. Guys who are strong, guys who are fast, guys who can punch. Okay? But he's still been extremely successful. You know why? Because of what you just said a moment ago, Reggie. The guy can fight. Notice I didn't say box. You know there's a difference, right? Lomo can fight. And Teofimo has been in there with a lot of guys who have not fought him back. He's been in there with guys who he's overpowered, knocked them out with a big punch, bullied them down and walked them down and everything. This man is a world-class fighter internationally, and he has skills. Now, in this present day and time, the skills that he have stand out because a lot of that hasn't been taught to the American fighters because the amateur program is not as good as it once was. And Teofimo, a lot like Fernando Vargas, is a guy who's talented. But just like they threw Fernando in there with guys that he shouldn't have been fighting that early on. He should have been learning the craft and progressing, but they threw him in hot because he was talented. We just had this man come off a fight complaining about the Japanese fighter. Forgive me, I don't remember his name at the moment, but he was complaining that the guy was too tall for him. He didn't want to fight no tall guys no more. Well, he might not be fighting a guy that's tall, but he's fighting a tall order. Okay? The man can do a number of things. You just called a fight where he had a fight with Gary Russell Jr. He beat the crap out of Gary Russell Jr. Yeah, it was a little closer than they called it with their scorecards and everything. But when he let loose on Gary, if Gary wasn't the man he was, Gary would have wilted under that. Would you not agree with that, Reggie?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, do you think Teofimo has inside of him what Gary had?
Only that fight we'll see.
Exactly, you will see. And this is going to be the first time it's tested under the big lights when it's all on the line. And pressure bursts pipes. What if he hits T.O. with something and stuns him a little bit, and then T.O. shakes that off? And, what if he hits Lomo with something and stuns him a little bit, and Lomo shakes it off? Or he gets dropped, and he gets back up, and he fights even harder. What will that do to T.O. emotionally and mentally, psychologically?
Oh, it's going to affect him.
Exactly. Which is why you should put guys in fights where they learn things about when you hit a guy with your best shot and he don't go nowhere and he's there for the long haul. You have to find other means to be successful to end up victorious in the end. Those are tests that not have been asked of T.O. at this point. And do you think that Lomo is ready to concede at this time? I don't think he is. And he happily took this fight. He knows something. And what he knows is what I'm speaking on. He knows that there is nothing that man has faced that's like him, but he has seen men like T.O. before. Just because you're younger don't mean a damn thing in this instance, because if the man can fight, I'd rather take a guy who's been in some great mix-ups than a guy who's in his first one to fight by my side. Huh? He got to be really, really special. A one-punch artist. Let me get this guy. Boom. He's out. Boom. He's out. Boom. He's out. Who's next? But that ain't who T.O. is. Remember, T.O. was fighting the fights with guys that he had tremendous advantages over. Guys who couldn't take a punch. Guys who wasn't strong as him. Guys who couldn't go the distance with him. Guys who couldn't fight back. Guys who were taller than he could outbox him and still can't get the decision from him. Huh? A la the Japanese opponent that he fought. So with all of that being said, watch what happens. Just watch. The guy who beats Lomachenko is going to have to beat him in different manners. He's got, now Salido got him, okay? But I'll tell you something about that. They had no business trying to put him in there early in first or second pro fight, fighting a guy like that, fighting for a championship and all of that. But they did that, and they have to pay for that. But going forward, he knows. Just like when he got dropped by, what was that, Linares? Who was that dropped him? And he got right back up, beat the guy up. That body shot he hit dude with, oh, people forget about that. He punched like hell to the body. And he knows how to place the punches. You guys talk about Earl Spence Jr. and his punch placement. Look at Vasily Lomachenko's punch placement and the effects that he get out of it. There was a reason why Gary didn't want him no more. Gary still won't say his name. Think about it. But that's what I had to say about that.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and I put respect on Loma's name, man. Even without him being my favorite fighter, I put respect on that guy's name, man. He's accomplished so much in such a short time, a short span. Even with what they put him in there with, I know we know a lot of the stuff that has been done with Bob Arum putting guys on hiatus and whatnot, but these guys decided to go in there. Go on to camp, and I can't even use that shit about being on the shelf as an excuse. You go through a camp, you done got yourself in shape, you got in this ring, you know what it is. And he just made a lot of these folks in there quit.
Yes, sir.
Lomachenko's fight, and I see the way he loads up on punches, the way he delivers punches, the way he knows how to go about using pity pats. This dude knows exactly what to do with a pity pat shot. He knows how to blind an opponent, and then he's setting something up right behind it. This dude's ability to think in that ring causes this confusion that makes folks quit. And along with what they've been hit with, this dude bad. He a badass dude. And like you said, he can fight. He can take some punches and get that shit right back. So, I mean, this is a big step up for Teofimo. And hopefully, and then also you got to think about this. The moment. Are the lights going to be too bright for Teofimo? That's the other thing you got to think of.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So I want to move on through this real quick. We have Kavaliauskas says that he wants to fight a rematch with Terrence Bud Crawford. He says that he learned some things in the fight, and he said he almost had him, and if he has the chance to do it again, he would want, Crawford again, because he says he think he can beat him. I don't think the guy is very realistic. When Bud got to him, Bud got to him. He broke him down mentally as well as when he got ready to knock him out. Like I spoke about when the fight actually took place, he dropped Bud with a flash knockdown. Yes, he did. But Bud wasn't hurt. He got dropped. It was a clean knockdown. The referee missed it. However, when Bud got up, he was like, oh, shit, I got to get this guy out of here. And he went after this guy with a fervor that the guy wasn't prepared to contend with. So when he knocked him down that first time, when he got up, Kavaliauskas had that look on his face like, oh, shit, I've, woken up a sleeping giant here. And he was soon to be KO'd in that fight. And in a rematch, it could happen faster simply because Crawford has the data on him now. It's like he's not thinking of it like, oh, maybe I could do better in the rematch. He won't knock me out. No, he knocked you out after he went after you. You understand? He didn't go after you in the first fight initially. He was coming out. You were laying back, catching him coming in, hitting him with good shots, and Bud wasn't respecting that. But now that he has that data on you, you actually think you can be better. He's going to be better. What the hell you think you're talking about, man? What are your thoughts on this, Reggie?
Man, Kavalaski's been sitting around listening to a lot of the content being put out because a lot of people have been giving him credit to knock Bud about him dropping Bud. And I think that's gone to Kavalaski's head. And now he done found a way out of getting an ass whooping and now becoming a main event fight. So that shit that went to his head. And I think Bud may have put some knots in his damn brain for him to even think that. A rematch would just be worse because Bud know not to go in there, taking the guy lightly, break him down, just beat with him. Bud toyed with this dude. And like I said, I don't care about it. The damn knockdown everybody likes to celebrate. It's no different than being in a game. And this is the thing I be seeing with fans. That's why I watch sports by myself. I don't watch sports with a bunch of people and shit. Because nothing is worse than where people watch someone get dunked on. They watch someone get dunked on. And that shit gets celebrated more than what is finalized. You dunk on somebody, but you lost by 50 damn points. And that's essentially what that might look like. But yeah, that's why I watch sports by myself. Don't watch with other people because that shit frustrates me when I see too much goofy shit implemented in the way fans react to shit. And I see it in the way sports was. And even like the person where I start taking heat of that shit was when the coach who they put out, Bobby Knight, where he used to get pissed off when he'll look at Sports Center and the shit that they show in there is the highlights of dunk and not showing the other essential elements of the game. And that's the way fight fans look at shit. They just rather see the dunk or, ooh, he got dropped. But the motherfucker popped right back up and got the whooping ass. The result of the fight was a TKO stoppage. But yeah, I think Kavalaski is tripping me, but he's gained a little bit of a claim to his name for being the first person to drop Bud.
Yes, sir. Hey, we both agree on that one. But hey, man, in a couple of weeks, Reggie, we got something coming up, man. A doubleheader card, man, on Showtime pay-per-view, where we get a chance to see Jermall Charlo in the first part of the pay-per-view taking on Sergey Deverenchenko. I think this is a very, very good fight. It's a fight that the fans will enjoy. It's a fight that's going to test the mettle of Jermall Charlo, and also it's going to really let us know where Sergey stands at the middleweight division, because he had a very good outing against Triple G where he did not get the decision when a lot of people felt like he was going to get that decision after his performance. Are you anticipating this match, and what are your early thoughts on Charlo and Deverenchenko?
This is gonna be a real tough ass fight for Charlo. I feel, but Deverenchenko is war. You know, he's battle tested, and in my own honest opinion, I believe, along with other people who were in attendance, he won that Triple G fight. He gave Triple G probably the hardest fight Triple G ever had, much greater showing than what Canelo gave, and that guy came out there to scrap Triple G. He didn't back away. I didn't see this guy cut. That doesn't deter him. Nothing stops this dude. And he's looking for something great. He's looking to become a champion. And I think the thing that stopped him from being a champion that night was the politics of boxing. But what also showed me is that how motivated he is, because he even stole away Triple G's fans. Those fans started booing Triple G, and they cheered him. So that's a great motivating factor in him looking to go out here against another champion. I'm pretty sure this dude worked like hell going into that training camp. I think Rozier is his coach and shit, and I think that's a great move. That's a great company to be with, to teach this guy. But also with Charlo in great company under his coach. And Ronnie Shields is a dude who doesn't play that shit. And I think he can pull Charlo in. He ain't one of these dudes who's going to be relaxed and all soft with Charlo if Charlo gets pulled out of his game. But I also think Deverenchenko has the ability to pull Charlo away from his game to effectively remove Charlo from getting out there in boxing and getting Charlo to start taking more risk and opening up on a much close-in type fight. And it's going to be a tough fight, but I expect Charlo to pull this one off. but he's gonna end up opening himself up to some things, and we'll see how this one goes. But I think Derenchenko's he's been in some war. He's a veteran. He done faced the top guys up here, and he's made a great showing for himself. I haven't seen anybody just walk through and beat on the guy. And once again, the supposed beast of the division in Triple G, and many people's opinions, he gave Triple G a great touch up. But yeah, that's all I have. But I'm gonna go with Charlo by decision in this one.
That's very good stuff there, Reggie, and it's amazing that you touched on a point where I was going to go. The difference in this fight is going to be the cornerman, the trainer, and I think that this is where Ronnie Shields is going to shine. As long as Jamal Charlo is able to be dialed in to his coach, he will win this fight hands down. The difference being that Ronnie Shields has coached fighters at this championship level for a number of years, over 20 years. Okay. He knows what he's talking about. And when you look at how Charlo was able to do away with Hogan in that last fight, he made a transition during the fight that Ronnie Shields told him a few things, after a couple rounds, and he did it at that. He got that stoppage that came much easier because of what Ronnie was able to tell him, and he believed in it. And I remember Ronnie asking him when the fight was over and he came back to the corner, he was like, "Didn't I tell you?" It was like he had given him some proper instructions and he followed them to a T, and he got the positive result that he wanted. I believe the difference in the fight will be Ronnie Shields. And that's not to take away from Charlo's abilities, but as long as he's doing what his trainer is telling him, and Shields can coach him through this victory easily, because this is a tough opponent. This is not an easy guy by any means, but the fight could be that much more advantageous in Charlo's favor of what he can do and be more versatile in this fight than what Derenchenko can do in this fight. So you touched on a huge point where I think that Shields will be the key in this fight. And I believe that Jamal entrusts in Shields. I listened to a fight that they did with I listened to a interview that the two brothers, the twins, did with Brian Custer recently, and they got to that subject about why Jermell left Ronnie Shields and stuff like that. And as they were talking about it, and they were giving, Jermell was giving his points of what he wanted to do and this and that. And he felt like, being with, what's his name that trains Earl Spence now?
Derek James.
Derek James. He was giving his reasons for being with James and how he liked and how he's growing. His brother Maul was sitting there on the Zoom interview going like this, shaking his head like with his mouth twisted like In other words, he was denying what Mel was saying like was beneficial to Mel. In other words, he would in Maul's mind, Shields was better for him. So I found that to be a telltale thing when you talk about the confidence that he has in his coach. So I do think he will be bought in, and that will be the difference in this fight. And I expect him to be victorious. It might be some wrinkles early on, but he'll persevere and break through as long as he's believing. Now remember, you'll hear me say this, as long as he's believing in and doing what his coach wants him to do. Now, if he doesn't do that, anything can happen. But as long as he do what I'm talking about, I think he'll be just fine. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a spectacular victory, only under the condition of him doing what his coach wants him to do. Now, the other aspect of that night, Reggie, is after the intermission, we'll have Jermell Charlo taking on Jason Rosario. Same night, and these guys are fighting at different venues, and they'll be, headlining. So what are your thoughts about Jermell taking on Jason Rosario? And this will be for the unified championship of the world. The WBC, WBA, and IBF on the line.
This is going to be the hardest fight. And this is the Charlo brother that really faces the greatest risk of losing those titles, man. Being who he's in there with. He's in there with Rosario, who's a guy who's of equal stature as Jamal. I mean, not Jamal, but Jamel. He's a heavy-hitting puncher. He's great off the jab, and he's strong. This kid can take punches. I know he was stopped early in his career to Gallimore, but even if you go back and look at that fight, you also begin to see the heart of this kid is when he was hurting that punch. He was hit with a shot over the temple that really messed him up. This kid got right back to his feet. You see his legs gone. This kid still went in there looking to fight back. He gets hit with a punch. He gets dropped, but he gets back up looking to go in for the fight. But the ref seen his condition and stopped it. And this kid was pissed the hell off that the referee went in there and stopped it. So even with the stoppage, it's not a knockout loss. He had a TKO stoppage, and where he was still looking to go in there. This is a kid you got to kill inside that ring, and that's when he was young, when he was stopped by Gallimore. He's a much different fighter, a greater fighter. He's a champion now. He comes from a land where he's fighting for something much greater than holding the belt, much greater than just the money that he's receiving. He's fighting for honor and everything. He's sacrificed being away from his family, that camp they put on going into J-Rock. It really shows it's a testament to who this guy is and the sacrifices they go through this thing. They ain't on there cussing out people over designer clothes and stuff, and because they ain't got shirts for you, or he ain't tripping on his family, cussing out a family member's wife, unlike what we seen with Jamel, who's seemed to be on edge when it comes in the lead up to this fight, looking to fight his brother and on this gangster rah stuff, and not being locked in and relaxed when it comes to how he acts. And I think he's on a little bit of a psychological edge, psychological trip. It's only so much people can buy in this shit being normal. Oh, this is just the way he is. Nah, when people, I know the psychology of motherfuckers, so that's why I don't listen when I hear people say, oh, that's the way he is, man. Everything's psychological. Everything in this game of boxing is mental as well. You can do shit with a person like that who's emotional, and you can say shit inside that ring. That's why the thing outside of Tony Harrison being such an effective and good boxer was the psychological shit that he played on Jamel. It's easy to get in fucking Jamel's head. And that's the same thing that can happen in his ring leading into this fight, is this dude is on some emotional, psychological slip. And he's going in here with a dude who's dangerous, a dude who's a champion now. He's strong. He's going to go in here and face and be head up with Charlo. And Charlo seems to have an issue with the jab. That was the one difficult thing he faced in there going against Tony Harrison. And Tony Harrison had to do too many things that was dynamic, but put a jab upon Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo was to go in there and step in there. Now, this dude is much stronger than Tony Harrison. So we're going to see what we get. We're going to see if we get in here and bang. This guy has the ability to hurt Charlo. I've seen the jab quite a few times stopping Charlo. Not saying it hurt him, but he stopped Charlo in his tracks as he moved forward. So it's going to be a tough fight right here for Jamel. And that's why I hope Jamel locks in, stop tripping about shit, and get his mental right. But going in here with Derek James, and that's the other side of things, is the trainer. Can Derek James pull this guy in? I don't think so. Ronnie Shields would cuss Jamel out in that goddamn corner, even in these camps, to getting him on track. But he's the difference of his brother. The Jamel is probably going to go in and do great things in the sport. The younger brother, man, if he can't get together, he's going to start having slips in his game and stuff. But so far from what I see, I'm favoring Banana in this one. I'm going with Banana Rosario to or what's the name, Jason Rosario to win this fight.
You know, it's funny, Reggie, that you say that. We're seeing it kind of similar. This is a fight that if Rosario came out victorious, you wouldn't be surprised. You know, that's how competitive the match is. But the difference is in Mel and his acumen. He's going to have to go back to what Ronnie Shields had him doing for this fight. And we do not know if Derek James is capable of relenting to that, because that's important. Remember, he was boxing very good till he knocked out a couple of people, and then he realized he can punch too, and he's like, oh, well, I can knock guys out. Remember, it's about winning. The knockout might get you a highlight reel, but the victory goes in the record books forever, you know? So in a fight where you have an opponent that's dangerous and strong like Rosario, you want to make sure that you have enough to get to the final bell. And what that means is don't swim without getting wet. You know, you want to be in there, not taking the hard stuff early. You want to be outboxing him, outslicking him. You want to set him up with stuff. And then hopefully in the later rounds, the middle rounds, later rounds, he starts to begin a little fatigue. Then you can do more. And if you wanted to try to go for a knockout, it has to be late. Don't be out there trying to exchange with this man early on, because early on, he's so strong, he'll get your ass, you know? So it's like you have to look at him as a piece of sculpture that you chip away the inessentials till you get to the core of what you're trying to create there. And that's a victory at the end of the day. Put rounds in the bank. See? And that's what's important. Now, is Derek James that type of coach and trainer to give that type of instruction from the corners round by round by round? I don't know. I don't know Derek James like that. I just know that Earl Spence Jr. is the type of fighter who is capable of doing things physically on the average. Mel is not. He is of the school of boxing, but found out that in instances he can punch too. But you can't rely on your punch, rely on your boxing, you see? And Rosario is a fighter, so you have to box a fighter. You have to box him. Remember, J-Rock, when he got cut and everything, he decided to go in there and like, since I'm cut, I want to get this guy out of here. And he started running into stuff, and he couldn't slow down the train once it got going. And he ended up, you know, the train overran him. This is something that is a lesson for people who watch the sport of boxing and watch how it goes. When you have someone who's physically capable, you have to chip away at that. You have to wear that down, so to speak. And you have to stay safe while doing it. You know, you make sure he don't catch you with the clean stuff. You don't let him lay his hands on you as much. You stay vacant. You stay distant. You get in and get yours off and get out, give him angles, get side to side, step in and out, make him come at you, make him run into stuff. That's what you have to do. Don't you go out there talking about, I'm the WBC champ and this is mine and I'm going to knock you out. That's the fastest way for your ass to be carried out of there. You know? And with Mel being such a high, strong, emotional guy, he could get drawn into something, just like J-Rock did, but for a different reason, you know. And that's how it could end up going south for him very easily. But I have to admit that both of these fights on this night are worth tuning in to see. I know it's $74, $75. That's a lot of money, but you know, for quality boxing matches featuring the twins, hey, man, again, on this night, something special may happen. We got to tune in and see. So that's what I have to say on that, Reggie. And good stuff when you're talking about those two fights. I respect what you had to offer on that. And there's some people in the chat that's kind of co-signing on what we've had to say as well. So that's good stuff on that. One last thing I wanted to bring up. We've got an interesting month of October for Top Rank, man. They've got a series of fights starting with Saturday, October 3rd, all the way through the 31st. The first Saturday of October, we've got Jose Zepeda and Ivan Baranchyk fighting, and that's for the junior welterweight. These guys are contenders in the division, and it's like, man, you know, ESPN is trying to have some fights for the month of October. Then on October 9th, a week later, they've got Emmanuel Navarrete coming back, and he's fighting Ruben Villa, and that's for his WBO featherweight title. On Saturday, October 17th, is the Vasily Lomachenko-Teofimo Lopez fight, and that's a unification showdown. And Friday, October 23rd, we got Artur Beterbiev, the guy that I like to see fight because that guy can punch, against Adam Dines. And on October 31st, we've got Naoya Inoue, and he's taking on Jason Maloney. So that's for the month of October through ESPN, man. We've got some really action-packed stuff happening for the month of October. What are your thoughts on this with ESPN for October, Reggie?
I'll say good move by Bob Arum to finally step it up. But it seems to be his feature of the mainly his international fighters. Nothing really for his American-bred fighters. So he's putting on his strongest card for these guys. And I can't wait to see Beterbiev because I respect the hell out of Beterbiev. I like what he stands for and what he stands for inside that ring. He's a monster in there. But this is a good card. This is about time because Top Rank's been putting on a lot of underperforming cards, mainly because of I enjoy what the bottom tier, because these are younger fighters trying to get their notice in the game. They're staying active. But when you put in Navarrete against other lower tier guys and all the other folks he's put in there has been pure trash. But this is finally the step up of his promotion is October. So this is a good move by Bob.
Yeah, I don't mind that there are some of the international fighters because we want to see boxing. And when they start putting these cards together like that, even when you can put these guys on one card, it's boxing. And there are going to be some good fights in here. There's not going to be just like, it's like, oh, this is boring or whatever. Like I said, when you talk about Inoue, you talk about Beterbiev, Navarrete, Zepeda, these guys, they can punch, man. And they have had some success in fights. So, I want to see Baranchek again because I thought that when he fought Taylor, I thought that was going to be a better fight than it was, but Taylor broke him down. I really like Beterbiev or Beterbiev. I don't know how they like to pronounce his name, but I think that he is the one guy. He's like Ernie Shavers, of the light heavyweights, man. He can really punch, man. And when he hits guys, there is definitely a reaction. You know what I mean? He's just a ham-fisted guy. And I like that. We need that in the sport. You need guys who have that equalizer. It makes it exciting, So to see these guys on this night come out there and do their thing, man, I think it's a great thing. I think we should enjoy it. And shout out to Top Rank, man, for providing that, man. I mean, it's something to be said for that for the month of October. We'll at least have something every weekend, in between whatever else is coming up. So, because we know some other fights are going to take place as well. So, I just enjoy the fact that they're putting these matches out there, and we'll have stuff to tune in. You and I get a chance to come online and talk about it and share our thoughts and feelings about it with the world. We've been doing some great post-fight shows, so I look forward to that, man. It's good stuff. So, what you got? You got some final thoughts and words for us as we get ready to close the show out, bro?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to get my closeout?
Or if you have something else to say on that card or on those cards for October, if you got anything on that, anything else?
No. That was all I had for that one. But I was saying something about our post fights. I was like, we got a couple of fights for tomorrow. You also got Anthony Yard fighting early in the morning tomorrow. I don't know who's broadcasting it, but he's going into another one of his whack fights. So
yeah,
I don't know about that guy, but we got some good fights. I'm gonna find a way to find it, but hopefully we up on there tomorrow. See what Eagles do.
Yeah, that guy Anthony Yard, man, didn't he fight some dude in a skating rink or something? I don't know, man. It's like, what is he doing, man? I guess they said they really gonna slow it down after the Kovalev loss, man. Remember we were laughing about that fight he had, his comeback fight? Man.
Yeah.
Anthony Yard gotta figure it out, man. He gotta figure it out. Only thing is, I don't think he needs to figure it out in the ring. He need to figure it out before he get to the ring. So, but yeah, go ahead and give us some final thoughts, Reggie, before we close the show.
Yeah, man, this is a good show, man. I'm sorry I got in there late, but finally figured out what was going on. But great show, man. Great subjects. I enjoy the hell out of them all the damn time, and can't wait for them to continue on with some more of this good boxing. And I want to see that fight get made. That's been made right here on YouTube. So, but that's all I got. OG, salute to everybody came through.
Yes, indeed, man. It was like, it was a great time, man, to talk. What we came up with for tonight. You know how we did it. You know what we came up with. Everything. It was great stuff, man. And I'm just proud to have been able to, get this all going, man. Just, it's been a great show. I think that when we get back to boxing full time and everything, where everything is back, and hopefully we can get the arena crowds back and everything. But if it's going to be a while before that, we just need to support, what we're getting, so we can talk about it, chop it up and everything. It's important that we keep everything in its proper perspective. But I'm excited about it. Looking forward to, the more on the horizon, man. So yeah, those are my thoughts about everything. But yeah, man, it's been great, man. It's been a great show. I'm glad you were finally able to get on so we can talk about the things that we had set up to talk about and everything. Salute to the chat coming out, supporting us this evening, man. We really enjoy the fact that you guys come out to rock with us for the Friday night chop session, man. And I'm just glad we were able to produce another good show, man. Another great show for everybody. So with that said, man, we're going to go ahead and sign off for this evening. Say salute to the chat. Tune in for those fights this weekend. And, hey, we'll catch you guys on the next one. So peace to everybody. Have a good weekend.